guys, and welcome to Vegan Beauty Girl. In today's video we are going to be talking about L'Oreal and particularly whether or not their recent campaigns have been a good environmental impact or whether or not they have simply been greenwashing. So for those of you who don't know, greenwashing is a term of marketing where you will convince the consumer that your products are more environmentally friendly than they actually are. And this is particularly damaging just because, one, it misleads ethical consumers, people who are trying to make good purchases, it misleads them and it takes business away from businesses that are actually doing good things and being sustainable. Just in any term, regardless of whether or not it's about the environmental side of things, it's just really bad when brands use misleading marketing to sell their products. It's not something I'm a fan of. I'm a big fan of transparency, and I think we can all agree that that is the way forward and that is what's important. So I hate to see brands use stuff like greenwashing. You've also got things like vegan washing, where brands will use the word vegan to really market their products even if they're not using vegan ethics, which is a whole other issue. And there's also stuff like woke washing, which is when a brand tries to portray itself as a super woke brand when really they aren't. So there are lots of different sort of like washings that we see these days, but in this video in particular I'm going to focus on L'Oreal and two of their more recent ad campaigns and talk about whether or not they are sincerely making an impact for the better for the environment or whether or not they are just fully fledged greenwashing us. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Nicole and I dedicate myself to doing news, reviews, tips, tricks, conversations all around like vegan beauty, ethical beauty. That's kind of what I'm doing here today. Please do hit like and subscribe if you enjoy this sort of content. Yeah, let's get into it. Something that's very new in the last few years is that sustainability has now become super marketable and super profitable. And that's both good and bad. That means that brands, big brands in particular, now have an incentive to be a bit more environmentally friendly. They know that it attracts consumers and in the end increases their profits to be a bit more sustainable. And that is a good thing. It's good to have this sort of pressure and any incentive is good. However, it is also a bad thing because it can lead to misleading marketing like we've just discussed, and it can lead to them just focusing a lot more on looking like they're doing good rather than actually doing good. And the two campaigns we're going to look at today is the recent Terracycle campaign with Maybelline, where L'Oreal's Maybelline brand partnered up Terracycle to introduce beauty recycling bins into a lot of stores, 1,000 stores in fact. And the second campaign we're going to be talking about is the L'Oreal Elvive campaign, and that is about their bottles being 100% recyclable and made from recycled materials with an asterisk. We'll get onto that in a sec. I don't know why I'm holding my pen, we're not going to write anything. I've been making notes for this. So let's start off with the Terracycle ad. So this was actually really exciting to see, and that's that L'Oreal's brand Maybelline partnered up with recycling heroes Terracycle to introduce 1,000 new recycling bins into stores across the UK. So that allows people to recycle compacts, eyeshadow palettes, foundation, concealer tubes, mascaras, eyeliner and lip products in these recycling bins. They do not, however, accept makeup brushes, nail polish and aerosols. But either way, this has been launched into 1,000 new stores, including in Superdrugs, Tesco's, Boots and Sainsbury's. It means that a lot more people are going to have Terracycle options, which is making something like recycling very accessible. Recycling is very difficult in the UK. It's hard to give very clear guidance because it varies so much council to council. That just makes it very frustrating for the consumer, and a lot of us do not recycle our bathroom waste currently because it is so complicated and so confusing. Also, a lot of our local recycling facilities do not facilitate the recycling of a lot of the components of our beauty products. So this is why it's really great to have Terracycle, who offer you the opportunity to take your empties into store. Your clean empties, you have to clean them at home, but you take them in store and you give them over, and Terracycle makes sure that these beauty products are dealt with in the best possible way with their recycling facilities. So that is incredible. That is really good, and I think it is amazing that L'Oreal have put their money towards actually making a positive impact by financing the rollout of 1,000 new Terracycle bins. That is really good, and that is definitely a lot better than just spending a lot of money on a campaign that just convinces people you're environmentally friendly without actually doing any actions. So that is a good part of this campaign. I do have a lot of thoughts on this. Let's stick with the positives for now. So another thing is education. It's definitely, the more people are exposed to these bins, the more people are wondering like, why are these bins here, and learning that they can recycle their bathroom waste, and that means a lot less stuff going into landfill and a lot more of the products being given a second life, and that is really good. So L'Oreal aren't the first people to be partnering up with Terracycle, nor are they the first people to really talk about bringing back your empties. So the Body Shop started doing a partnership with Terracycle I think a little over a year ago, and you have been able to take your empties back to the Body Shop for them to be properly recycled. I've been taking my empties there for quite a while now. So L'Oreal aren't the first. They haven't been the first brand to campaign with Terracycle and offer more opportunities for people to recycle their products. Similarly, Lush have had their black pot scheme in place since like before I can remember, and that is that you can return 5 black pots to their store. You know, the classic Lush black pots, right? So like these pots, when you're done with them, if you're not like using them to house a plant, you can take them back to store. You take 5 of them and you get a face mask. Not only have they been encouraging people to return their empties for like way longer than anyone else, but they've also incentivized you to do that. They have offered a reward to customers for doing that. Even though they've done all that, they actually have a really low rate of return of their empties. It is like shocking. I'll put the figure up here because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But yeah, that's really interesting to note. Just because the facilities are there doesn't mean that people are gonna take the effort to do it, and that's with the incentive of a Lush face mask, and L'Oreal are just expecting people to do it with no incentive. But at the same time, if you look at the Body Shop, if you look at Lush, they're pretty much shops that attract more environmentally conscious customers, whereas when you've got a brand like L'Oreal putting it in Tesco's and Superdrugs and these places where just everyone goes, it's not really appealing only to the environmental market. It means that people who otherwise wouldn't wonder about recycling their beauty products are now considering it. That is another plus on the education side of things. It's definitely exposing a broader audience to the realities of what happens with your bathroom products, and that is another good thing. And also it's really helpful that you're able to drop off any empty product. It doesn't matter if it's L'Oreal product, it doesn't matter whatever it is, you can drop it off at these bins and they will recycle them. But yeah, let's talk about the issues surrounding this. Number one is that it's very focused on recycling. We all know the 3 R's: reuse, reduce, recycle. It is in that order. It is really important that we focus firstly on reusing, then reducing, and then recycling. And L'Oreal are just really peddling the recycling narrative because it makes consumers feel like they're doing good and that is the solution to any beauty waste, and that, you know, it's a pat on the back and that's the issue kind of like done. They're not really having any further conversations. They need to instead start like scaling back on production and stop convincing women that they need to buy stuff they don't need to buy. Like L'Oreal are just such a consumerist brand. They're so bad. They've also been done for false advertising in the past. They once did a campaign to promote a new mascara. They used fake lashes in the ad and were implying that was the impact of their mascara, and you know, it's like insecurities like that and false advertising like that and just convincing women that they need stuff that they do not need. That is actually a real big environmental issue and they are just awful for it. Absolutely awful. So recycling is good. It's not the golden solution that they're making it out to be, and they really need to pedal back on production, take a better look at their supply chain, take a look at like the farming practices that they encourage from their suppliers and pay them a fair wage. There are so many other things they really need to do instead of just focusing on recycling. It's just so basic. We just need them to move away from the fast beauty model rather than just putting up these recycling bins. I feel like this is a way of them saying, you can keep buying our products as long as you bring them back and then you're doing good for the environment. It's not doing a lot. And we've even got Will McCallum, who is head of oceans at Greenpeace UK, commented on their new initiative. He said, given the almost daily torrent of research revealing the extent to which plastic pollution is damaging our planet, it's frustrating to see a major plastic producer like the makeup industry fail to commit to reduce its overall plastic footprint. Without action plans to move towards reusable packaging and reduce single-use plastic production, companies cannot claim that they are doing enough. And I think that's really important. L'Oreal just aren't having these conversations with its consumers. They are just pretending that they are really innovating and being amazing. It's not enough. It really isn't. It's really not enough. Another issue with this is that there is an element of greenwashing here. Yes, they might be making an impact by putting all these bins out, but at the end of the day, they've got Maybelline sponsoring it. They are not an otherwise environmentally friendly brand, but because of the association, you'll have, you're recycling your products, or even if you're just walking past this bin in the store, you're going to see the Maybelline logo up on these recycle bins and you're going to think, they're a good brand, they're an eco-friendly brand, when in reality their formulas aren't biodegradable, they're not supporting the farmers that are supplying the ingredients, and they're not cruelty-free. There are just so many things that they're not doing that would make them actually like innovating in the environmental space, but because of this bin, you're gonna have this subliminal, subconscious association there. I feel very frustrated that people are now gonna really associate L'Oreal with being environmentally friendly, because that is just the last thing I would use to describe them. And again, like I said, another con is that it's not particularly new and unique. They are not the only brand to be doing this. Like I said, you've got the Body Shop who have been doing it for a while, you've had Lush who've been doing it forever, and also since the news came out about L'Oreal, in the last couple of days I've seen that Boots are also introducing a bring back your products to be recycled scheme, which also incentivizes their customers to bring back products, and that is that they get like the equivalent of £5 Boots Advantage points if they bring back 5 products. I think that's a pretty good incentive, and I think it makes a big difference adding on an incentive. And I don't know really what L'Oreal maybe could have done there, but just because they've been there doesn't mean that people want to bring their products back. It takes people to really care about the environment to be bothered to do that, so I feel like adding in incentives is a really big difference. I'll leave a bit more information about the Boots scheme downstairs as well, because theirs is also starting off quite small, but it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you've got one near you that is taking part. and then another element of the issue is that it's just really the least they can do. I know that they put money towards putting all these TerraCycle bins out, but like, how much really did that cost them? Like, you have to think about that wealth in relation to them as a company. It was probably pennies to them. It makes you wonder, like, hey, how did they not do more? Could they not have done more? Maybe they will. Maybe it's actually an issue of TerraCycle. Maybe they can't afford to support doing too much at once. But I don't know. It makes me a bit uneasy. I feel like by applauding them, we really are applauding them for doing the bare minimum. It's just, it's not enough. We are in a climate crisis, and they're just a major player, particularly in the beauty industry, particularly when it comes to just being a big company and the amount of waste they must produce, and just being good people and ethical companies. They're just like right down there. So I really don't like it when they promote themselves based on ethics, like sustainability. It just really sits super uncomfortably. So to summarize, yeah, I think it's great that there are more options for people to recycle their products on the high street, but please can we not end the conversation at recycling? We really need to focus on reusing and reducing, and that just means buying less. Like, L'Oreal's never going to encourage you to do that. They never will. And it's particularly frustrating that now people will associate the Maybelline brand, who has nothing else going for them, like sustainability wise, they're going to associate them being a green brand because they've put all these bins in these shops. It's just the least they could do. But anyway, we're going to get on to the next campaign now, and that is the L'Oreal Elvive campaign. They've done quite the cute campaign poster. They've like twisted their Elvive bottles into the recycling triangle with a big claim in the middle with 100% recycled and recyclable bottles. Psst, asterisks. And this one just drives me a little crazy. Like, I can just imagine the marketing team at L'Oreal being like, okay guys, we need to sell ourselves as being more sustainable. People already care about sustainability. What can we do? What have we got going for us? And I imagine it was just like awkward looks around the room, and then eventually someone puts their hands up and say like, you know, our bottles are recyclable. And that's like literally what they can go with. It's scraping the barrel. I can't. It really is. If you are doing a massive sustainability campaign and the best you can come up with is all about recycling, you're not doing enough. You really aren't. It's just really frustrating that people just aren't going to think too deeply about it. People don't have time to think too deeply about it, and they just see all these eco-friendly ads about L'Oreal going up, and they're just going to think, hey, they're eco-friendly. When really, no, they're just recycling. How long have we all been recycling for? It's just bare minimum stuff. It really is. No, okay, so one positive thing is that they have made a change, and that is that their bottles are now made from not only recyclable plastic but also recycled plastic. That is good news, and according to them, that will save 900 tons of new plastic in the UK, and that is each year. So that's good. That is a step forward. But if you're a really bad brand and you take one step forward, that doesn't really mean you're a good brand. That just means you're a bit less bad, and just like keep that in mind. It's great that they're making progress, but it's not enough. When you think about how big they are, they've just done this with their Elvive brand. Like, they've not done it across every L'Oreal product. It's just Elvive. Again, what's really making me off is that L'Oreal have a really bad habit of doing this, and that's that they'll make a bold marketing claim and then they'll put a little asterisk at the end because what they've said isn't quite true. They are the CEOs of misleading marketing. I'm leaving that right there. They are so bad for it. Like, they did this before with Garnier, and they were talking about their vegan product, and they put like vegan on the bottle, on the ads, but they'd have to have a little asterisk on it and just be like, made with vegan formula, because eventually I guess they realised we shouldn't really call this product vegan if it's, you know, kind of tested on animals. And don't even get me started on that big campaign they did. I think it was a radio campaign mostly, but they were just talking about how they were against animal testing and did a huge campaign on it, despite the fact that they're not cruelty-free. There are so many claims they can make about animal testing which sound good, but at the end of the day they're not cruelty-free because they can't tick every box that's required for that sort of certification. But they know how to word what they do and leave out what they don't do and make it sound like they're actually ethical in that sense. And it's just so frustrating the amount of people I have to argue with on this. Anyway, so in this scenario they have said that all of our bottles are now recycled and recyclable, and then the asterisk there is to let you know that, oh, actually the caps aren't. Like, why bother saying it, L'Oreal, if it's not true? Why bother? They just do this all the time. And again, it's just back to the same issue, and that is that they are focusing on recycling rather than reuse and reduce, rather than biodegradable formulas, rather than traceability in their supply chain, rather than safe farming practices, safe conditions for their workers at the sourcing level. It's just nothing about that. Nothing about that. If you think about like who made my clothes in the fashion industry, if you did that for L'Oreal, they couldn't do anything. They'd be bragging about it if they were doing good by their farmers. They would be bragging about it because they're bragging about recycling. Like, that's nothing to brag about. It's 2020. That's the least you can do. So that's basically my thoughts on the matter, and that is that L'Oreal still fucking suck. And they are really investing in telling the narrative that they are sustainable, that they are a good brand for the environment. They're not. They really aren't. Please, let's not get suckered into that. It's really hard not to, but please, let's not. And I think at this point it's really interesting to have a conversation about intent versus impact. I guess the question is, does it matter whether or not they care about the environment, if they are making sustainable changes? Does it really matter what the reason is, whether or not it's because they truly care about the environment or because they're trying to sell products? Does it matter? Because the impact is still the same, right? And I really do understand like parts of that argument, but the thing is the end result is not the same. It just really is not. Basically what we see as consumers, we just see like the smallest part of what goes into being a beauty brand. This is something that I've learned from being like a beauty blogger and getting to go to events and getting to hear stories from small brands that really care about the environment and really care about the impact of their products, and just hearing a lot about the things that they do and the limitations and where they want to be. And just conversations like this just make me realise there's so much more that goes into being an eco brand than what packaging the product's in, whether or not it's recyclable. You know, it's about caring about who your suppliers are, it's about caring about fair trade, it's about caring about biodegradable ingredients, it's about caring about the air miles of your ingredients, it's about who supplies the energies in your factories or in your office, and there's just so many different layers to it. These aren't layers that L'Oreal will be looking at. If the customer isn't asking about it, if the customer can't see it, they really don't care about being sustainable. They really don't. The truly ethical brands, the brands that actually have been doing this for a long time, who have these as key core principles of their business, they care about every step, whether or not people are asking about it or not, because it's important to them. It's important to them to be the change that the industry needs and to be innovative and really lead the way on a more environmentally sustainable future. So yeah, that's why intent matters, because impact is way more than what we see as consumers. It's way more than like the packaging used on a product and whatever they put on their marketing. It runs so much deeper. It's in like every little bit of process, and when you've got a brand with intent, they're making the impact throughout, rather than a brand without intent who's just going to make an impact at the end, at the very flashy side of things, rather than throughout the whole process. And that's why intent is still very important, because it always leads to more impact. I'm telling you, big brands, when they make environmental changes, it is because it is marketable, because it is consumer pressure, or because government legislation is moving that way. We're seeing a lot of big brands remove plastic from their face wipes and stuff like that. That is because the laws are going to be changing on that. They're not going to be able to have single-use plastic like that in a lot of products. They're not changing it to be environmentally friendly. They're changing it because they want to still sell you face wipes, which are disposables, and they're really happy about, because they can sell you them again and again rather than face cloth, which you can only buy once. Oh, that's not sustainable for our profit. This is like the issue with these sort of brands. They just drive me absolutely bonkers. Other arguments I hear about this sort of like area is that people believe that buying something like the Elvive range, which is now recycled and recyclable, they believe that that will send L'Oreal the message that, hey, we are happy that you're making environmental changes, people are buying these products, you should do more of them. That's what they believe they're saying to the brand. These brands see you buy those products and they think, yes, we're doing enough. Good, we're environmentally friendly now, we've done it. Whereas if you continue not to buy from them, if you continue to buy from the small brands, the indie brands who are actually innovating and pushing environmental beauty and ethical beauty and like fair trade beauty, if you keep supporting those brands, the ones with transparency in their supply chains, the ones who don't test on animals, keep supporting those brands, and L'Oreal will be like, damn it, there's still money here that we've not got. What can we do to get this money? Crap, we need transparency. How are we gonna do that? They care about the money they don't have. Once they have your money on an environmental product, they're going to think like, great, that's it, that's done. When you start buying their vegan product, even though it's not cruelty-free, they'll be like, good, we've got the vegans. Whereas when the vegans were like, what? We're not buying that because you're testing on animals. They're like, they're realising that they've got to do more. Somehow people think that brands like L'Oreal only have access to their own data and sales. Like, they have industry insights. They understand that sustainability is trending, that people are buying sustainable products, and that they need to get behind this to get that money, and they got to get behind it better. They have to keep working for your money because they're not doing enough right now. Not at all. Not at all. I don't think they ever will, to be honest. Never buy from them. But please don't think that you have to buy from their eco initiatives to encourage them to do better in the future. When you don't buy their eco initiatives, but they know that sustainability is trending, that it's really important for the consumers and it's something that they're really looking for, they will wonder, why are our sustainable products not selling? The data tells us that people will be buying this, why aren't they buying it? And then they'll have to be like, it's because it's not really sustainable. They saw right through us. And we have to keep supporting the actual environmental brands, the actual ethical brands, and that is how you change the big brands. It's not through the money you give them, it's through the money you don't give them. Okay. Another issue that I often hear as well is that boycotts don't work, and oh my god, this also upsets me so much. People love to act like this is the way it's always been and that things will never change. I'm telling you right now, Henry VIII was not using Elvive. It has not always been this way. They have not always been these corporate giants, and it doesn't always have to be this way. And I can already see us changing as consumers, and that they are gonna go downhill eventually. Like an example of boycotting making a difference. Do you remember back in 2007 L'Oreal bought The Body Shop? People were livid because the Body Shop was all about ethics and animal rights. It was all very much Body Shop ethos, and that was in a stark contrast to what L'Oreal were known for, and that was just like big corporate energy, bad vibes. And people were mad and they were like, I'm not buying from the Body Shop anymore. People committed to that, ethical shoppers committed, and L'Oreal kept trying to make it happen, and 10 years go by, and you know what they've done? They've sold off Body Shop because it was not profitable for them. And why was it not profitable for them? It clashed too badly. Ethical shoppers did not want to shop at a L'Oreal shop. They never managed to recover that. They never managed to convince people that they were worth supporting in the same way as they were before they were owned by L'Oreal. And even to this day, I think it's been like 3-4 years since L'Oreal sold off the Body Shop. They're now owned by Natura Brazil, and that is a cruelty-free company, so if you like the Body Shop, you're more than welcome to support them if you are looking to shop cruelty-free. They are no longer owned by L'Oreal, which is wonderful. It is just a really beautiful example of consumer power being so powerful, about boycotts actually having an impact. I really sincerely believe in boycotts, and these big corporates really want to convince you that boycotts have no power because they are terrified of it. But you know, we are living in an age now where there are so many small businesses, and the cost of buying from small business actually aren't as big as they used to be. It doesn't cost as much to support small businesses. It's still maybe out of budget for a lot of people. I'm not saying that it's accessible to everyone, but it is becoming more and more accessible, and a lot more people are becoming more aware of the benefits of supporting small businesses, and it's something we can continue to do, and we can bring down L'Oreal, damn it. I believe it. You know, it's not going to go down globally overnight, but I do think that if you take a stand little by little, yes, they are going to possibly leave even the UK market, and then we can become a case study. We can be like the country that got rid of L'Oreal. It'll be wonderful. But yeah, all in all, they are still greenwashing, but I'm much more happy with their Terracycle campaign, for example, rather than their Elvive campaign. It's good to see that they have made positive changes. It's good that we are seeing those Terracycle bins pop up. Just make sure that you don't really associate L'Oreal being an eco-friendly brand. It's good that they now make some bottles from recycled materials, and it's also good that they have introduced a lot of bins into a lot of stores. These are good things, but that does not make them an eco-friendly brand, and they need to do a lot more, and I do not like that they are really marketing the shit out of these initiatives, and we need more people giving this counter argument and saying you're not doing enough, and highlighting that and making it very clear that we're in a climate crisis and we need to be doing more than this. Reuse, reduce, recycle. But yes, this has been L'Oreal. Greenwashing or actually making an impact? Mostly greenwashing. There's your answer. Thank you so much for watching. Please do hit like and subscribe, and you can find me pretty much everywhere online as Vegan Beauty Gal. Love to see you again. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.